of the answers from this guy that's going through a situation that a lot of guys go through, whereby you meet a woman, shows a little, she seemingly shows a little bit of interest, and then you're going to see in this message, he really starts to like overkill, like showing how much he likes this woman that he's not even taken out on a date before, let alone asked on a date yet. All right. So here's his situation. I used to do the same stuff, and I'll go into my situation as I read his thing. So he says, I like the girl from work, and I could feel she likes me too, as I understand her body language. Well, it's good to read body language, but also recognize that just in general, when we have an interest in somebody, we're going to be looking really hard into what signals they're throwing. And sometimes our brain can trick us into thinking that the signals that they're throwing to us indicate a like. Realize that in a work environment, women have to be nice. And so most women in a work environment are going to come across as friendly, easy to talk to, and caring, because that's why they got hired. They were nice to be around. That does not always mean that they have a high interest in you. It could just mean they're being friendly. Continuing, he says, we spoke a couple of times at work, and in both times, she tried to prolong the conversation. In the last conversation, I told her that I'm leaving the company and my last day would be the 17th. So she said that we have a company party on the 14th and that I should come, and told me the dress code for the event. And she smiled to me every time she sees me at the office. Again, it's great that she let you know about an office party and she invited you. Dude, she probably invited like 3 or 4 other people that maybe didn't know about the party. So you can't even take that at the value of it being that she likes you, because it's an office party. I'm going to an office party for a place I work at tomorrow that I got told by one of my female managers. That does not mean I think this female manager is now crushing on me. You know, it's work. Continuing, he says, a few days later at the party, we had small talk and the energy was great. I could keep the conversation going, but instead I said that, quote, okay, here's where we start to mess up, people. He said, quote, I wish to say a lot of things to you, but this is a work party. Everyone around is our colleague. I'm leaving, but you are not. So I don't want to bring everyone's attention in a way that could harm your job. And then I asked her if we could meet outside of work. She said, normally I would say no, but I will say yes to you. My response was, I'm so happy you said yes. Then I told her, I will leave you alone now to avoid bringing the attention. She seems she didn't like it. Well, okay, so there's a lot to grasp here. I'll break this down, right? So he had a couple of good conversations with her at work. She smiled at him and told him about a party. And based on all that information, his assumption was she probably liked him enough to where he could just pour out that he really wanted to see her and date her, but he was afraid of what the colleague would say, yada, yada, yada. So what he did is essentially was he took this to a level of serious that was not warranted for a woman he hadn't even asked on a date yet. And so what most likely happened is she freaked out. Like the part where she says, well, I would normally say no, but I would say yes to you. No, that was her saying, so in her passive way, like, this isn't a good idea. I don't want to do it, but you seem like a nice guy. I don't want to hurt your feelings. So yes, I will give you my number. And that's how I got the number. But none of this needed to be said. And this is for you guys, because, you know, realistically, like 37% of relationships start in the workplace. So it's not that you can't meet somebody at your job and then turn it into something. But it's all about, one, it's about the approach. And two, it's about really understanding the line of attraction and what your actual level of like is for this person and what her like of you should be in that situation. When you're asking a woman out for the first time, or let's not go that far. When you're asking for a woman's contact information for the first time, you don't need to preemptively start with, well, before I ask for your number, I want you to know that I think I really like you and we work together and I want to see you outside of work, but I know there are colleagues here, so I don't want to talk about it too much because it might, you know, ruin your job forever. But hey, give me your number. Like, you're applying a lot of pressure behind this woman now giving you the number. Like, basically you're saying, hey, if you give me your number, we're dating, no pressure, but give me your number. And you don't need to add all that. I think so many times as men, we think that we got to give women all this information about, like the guy asked earlier about the intent. Like, you don't need to go to a woman and say, hey, so I have an intention of dating you and all this other stuff, so that's why I want your number. Less is more. him just going, if he'd have just gone to the party, talked to her like regular, and then do what I do at parties, which I teach you guys in the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy, which is at the height of your conversation, say, hey, you know what? I got to get out of here. It's nice talking to you. Oh, real quick, let me get your number. Boom. In that moment, it's subtly letting her know in a passive way, hey, I want your number because reasons. I might be interested. I might want to take you out. I might want to just keep in contact as a work colleague. I'm not going to tell you, though. I just want the number. But you're leaving at the height of enjoyment of conversation. So that way she's like, oh, he's leaving now? My God, I want to talk to this guy more. But he's leaving the job forever. So the only way I can do that is to give him my number. At that point, you'll get the number. And then you leave her hanging about what you're going to do with it. You can realistically just get a number, sit in it for a few days, let her wonder why you got the number, if she's going to hear from you. All that stuff only works in your favor. But to be like, hey, oh my God, I think you're so, whatever. I want to see you outside of work and this is blah, blah. But these people here, like, you're adding so much pressure that now she's thinking like, oh crap, I'm stuck. Like, it went from like, this guy was a friendly guy at work to this guy has all these feelings for me. And I've been a guy that has experienced not knowing a woman like me till all of a sudden a woman just tell me she has all these feelings. Dude, let me tell you, if you haven't experienced it, it is rough because now you're like, you don't want to hurt the person's feelings, but you don't have the same strong feelings. What do you do? And you don't want to leave a woman in that situation. So if you're going to ask for numbers from women in general, just be like, hey, let me get your number. Don't even ask. I always say, guys, don't ask questions. Give statements for what you want. So, because what looks more powerful? You saying, hey, is it okay if I get your number? Versus, quick, give me your number. And we're trained since kids to just do what we're told. So when you tell women, I've had more women give me numbers just off me saying, hey, real quick, let me get your number, than I did when I was trying to ask that consent. Because when you're putting as a statement, you're basically commanding her. And giving commandments is a masculine energy, bold thing to do that most women will actually be like cool with. Like they wouldn't recognize it on the radar. They're just like, oh, yeah, I'll give you a number. Of course. He said I needed to give it to him, so I just gave it to him. And you look stronger doing it that way than the way this guy did it. So continuing on, he then says, I left later at the party while she was still there. I didn't say bye or anything. Now, that part was great. I actually think of the moves that he made, him leaving without specifically going back up to her and saying, well, I want you to know I'm leaving the party, so bye, was a strong, strong move. But then he ruins it by the next thing he did, which he says, the next day, I texted her and said, I'm sorry I left without saying bye yesterday. It was just my sister called and asked me to take her to the hospital as she wasn't feeling well, but I'm so happy I talked to you yesterday. Now, how is she reading that? Let's do it in a different voice, shall we? This is how women are interpreting what this guy said. Hey, so I'm sorry I left without saying bye yesterday. It's just my sister called and asked me to take her to the hospital as she wasn't feeling well. But, I'm just so happy that I talked to you yesterday. That's all feminine energy. And that is the voice she has in her head as she's reading this back. So that doesn't give her any tingles. That doesn't make her suddenly feel like you're the masculine guy she wants to go out with. It makes you look like the guy that is like trying to prove himself to her. At the point that you become the person that's trying to prove yourself to her, she's the one with the pedestal. She's the one wearing the pants. And she's the one that's not going to be attracted to you because she doesn't like men that act like this. Most women don't. So then he says she answered with a thumbs up. Didn't even give him words back. Just gave him like a couple of, okay, great. No bueno. So then the next day, I'm going to turn it this way because I get a lot of light coming in. I got to change my freaking, my window over there. So anyway, then he says, so he texted her and then she left the thumbs up, right? So then the next day, the next day I text her that I was watching a movie and mentioned the name of a beautiful actress in the movie and that she reminded me a lot of her. She didn't answer anything. Well, yeah, what I tell you all the time on this channel, texting kills attraction. And more importantly, as much as men don't want to believe it, women do not actually want to do mindless texting with you. And if you notice, this guy so far has been initiating all the texting. Why? Because she's not interested. Women that have an interest will reach out to you and try to start a conversation. But again, as the guy, you should only be using texting to ask her on a date. So all this trying to build rapport through texting, trying to send her these random messages just to see if she's there, you can start a long 2-hour texting conversation. Women really don't want that, especially in the dating process. At the point that you're the boyfriend, that kind of thing's a little more acceptable. But in the beginning, All this is doing is showing her that you have a very, very high like for her that's coming across as borderline needy, and you're out. Continuing. So then he says, she didn't answer to that one. And then the next day, he texts her and said, hi, so-and-so. I wanted to ask you if you have plans for the weekend. I wish to take you out so we can actually talk. He said, way too much in that ask. A simple, hey, I'm thinking of going to this spot and want to know if you were free to go Monday or Wednesday. Let me know which one works for you. Again, notice there's no question there. The way that I ask women out, I don't ask questions because, again, comments are a lot stronger than questions are, okay? So I would have said, hey, wanted to see if you were down to check out the such and such restaurant. I'm free Tuesday and Thursday. Let me know which one works for you. None of that is a question, but you'll actually get women that are going to be more apt to say yes to dates to you when you phrase it as a statement and a comment versus as a question. It's a psychological trick, guys. I'm sorry, it works across the board. Try it out for yourselves. See if you get different results. Continuing. So he said that, I wish to take you out so we can actually talk. And then she answered, hey, spending this weekend with my family. Thanks for the invite, though. Up hands. So then he says, I answered, sure, maybe some other time. Have fun. She answered, thumbs up to that. Again, what's the thumbs up? Notice she's sitting back as few words as possible to talk to this guy. That is not indicating a woman that has high interest. That's indicating a woman that gave you the number because she didn't want to be rude in the moment, but isn't actually attractive enough to build a rapport, to have rapport with you on this or to accept any of your dates. How do we know this? Because women that are interested but can't make a date for you would have given a counter offer. So when he said, hey, I want to take you out, her response would have been, hey, I'm spending time with my family this weekend, but I'm free next weekend. If she didn't say that kind of thing of her own accord, it's because she's not consciously or subconsciously trying to actually go on a date with you. So you're out. So he said, I answered, sure, maybe some of the time, and then she answered thumbs up. I didn't text her during the weekend as I knew she is with her family. But Monday, I texted her. I'm going to do it in the voice she's hearing it in. Oh, may I know your next availability, princess? She didn't say princess. May I know your next availability, princess, so I can plan a dinner for us? Steak or shrimp or sushi? Steak or sushi? She didn't answer to that. Yeah, dude. She didn't answer because she's not interested. Like, I need you guys to understand, dating is really not supposed to be like pulling teeth. Like, dating is actually the easiest, simplest thing in the world if you were going after women that have a high interest. Women that have low interest will do things like this. But it's good to know because the thing is, as men, we see ourselves as so great. We get trapped in our ego thinking that a woman wouldn't dare, like a woman that gave me her number, wouldn't dare not accept a date request. She wouldn't keep putting me off. She wouldn't dare like keep giving me these responses that give me mixed signals. Yeah, they would. Because you got to understand, women are not in the hurting feelings business. They're in the relationships. They're in the relationships business with the asterisk of, that doesn't mean romantic relationships, but in the sense of like, they want to make sure the people they're talking to don't see them in a bad light so they can have a good rapport and continue some kind of good interaction with them. And so when you're asking them questions about things they don't want to do, rarely they're going to come back and say, you know what? I'm not interested. Thanks a lot, but I don't want to go out with you, because they know that's going to hurt your feelings. So what they do is they give this passive language and hope that you just get it so they don't have to be the bad guy and hurt your feelings. So if you ask a woman out and she says, hey, I really want to go, but I just can't make it. But she doesn't say, but I can make it this other time. Recognize that just knows the guy that means she's not interested. Because I'm telling you, women that have a strong, high, like 80 to 90% interest in you, they can't help but to find time to spend with you. And when they can't, they want you to know assuredly that they have another day already in mind to be able to meet up with you because you matter that much to them. If they're not giving you that kind of energy, just recognize it what it is, that she's not that highly interested, and move on to somebody else. Anyway, it says, now I don't know if she's pulling away or if she's busy or what exactly and what I should do. What you should do is leave her alone and find somebody else. Like, real talk, what you should do is recognize that she's giving you signals that indicate that she's not actually interested in going out with you. Take that energy and push it onto somebody else, but also know going forward that when you're asking women for their number or trying to ask them out, you don't need to come with the energy of, it's because I like you so much and I'm highly interested. Realistically, and this is the big thing too, you need to recognize as a man that when you first see a woman that's really attractive, your lust is taking over and making you think she's oh so important and high and mighty. because you want to hook up with her. Your body is trained to make this person important enough to want to hook up with. That does not mean you have a high level of like. You don't know this woman. You haven't had enough conversation with her to actually warrant to know if her family life or, you know, what she's into religious-wise, political-wise, activity-wise really matches up with you, okay? So as good as the lust is for getting us to the hookup part of the situation, that does not mean that you have an over-ending like for her, all right? So you got to recognize that when you feel that thing, the first thought's going to be like, I love her so much. Realize that's lust. Get past that part and say, okay, beyond me wanting to jump her in the sack, like, what is she really about? Let me explore and find it out. And then from there, you just go and ask the number. Hey, let me get your number. Real quick, put your number down. You get the number, great. Then you say, okay, how's she going to be on a date? Let me go on a date with her. You go on a date. You're not trying to give up this whole lovey-dovey story. Ever since I first saw you, I thought you were so cute, yada, yada, yada. No. Just simple. Like, you go on a date. You're going to show her a good time. At the end of the date, you'll assess. And again, I have a whole program in the Introvert Dating Success Membership Academy called the Top Secret Dating Blueprint that walks you through this. It walks you through, like, how do you approach a woman? What do you say to her on the phone to get her on a date? On that first date, what things do you do on that date? What things should you be looking for during the date to make sure she's a good candidate? What red flags should you look out for? What you should do on the second date, all the way up to that third month, what red flags to look out for, what kind of conversations to have, what to do when there's any kind of conflict, what kind of negotiation needs to take place before you agree to a relationship. All that stuff is in this program. So again, 2-day free trial just for checking it out. But yeah, the point is that you shouldn't be coming with all this energy of I've already decided about you as a mate and put all my hopes and dreams into you off of before we even had a first date. Because you can go on like a good first or second date with somebody, but by date 4, be like, oh my God, I don't want to claim this person. I need to get out. And not enough of you are giving yourselves the time to just take your time and read a woman because you're thinking, A, this is probably the only option of woman that I have in front of me that I'll never get another option. And also, you're just so desperate to get into a relationship that you're not looking out for, but is this even the right person to be in a relationship with? So it's things to look at, guys. It's very, very important, all right?
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh, yeah.